Hi guys, welcome to Digital Empaths, and we are your host Sushant Ajmani
and Sunder Balakrishnan.
So guys, we are really delighted to have a new guest in our episode today. His name is Patrick Tigue, who is the founding partner of Downtown E-commerce and is currently based out of Portugal. Patrick.
Hey guys, how are you doing? Pleasure to be on the call today.
Great, Patrick. And I hope you are safe and connected in Portugal.
Yeah, all good. Staying healthy and sane the best we can in these times.
Wonderful, wonderful. So Patrick, I know you have been working in the digital space for over 15 years now, and the last 12 years you have been running your own organization. So how's the journey so far?
Yeah, it's been incredible. I think there's been a lot of challenges over the last 12 years, but as you know, our days, I think to give a little bit of backstory to people here that are tuning in, Sushant and I think go back a long time to our days back at GSI Commerce, which is a company based out in King of Prussia, or used to be, that ended up getting bought by eBay. And, from the days back then, there's been a real progression from, my journey of working in big corporations, jumping over to small startups, and then ultimately starting my own agency, where our core competencies are primarily search marketing, both paid search and SEO. And it's been an amazing ride. We've been all over the world. Moved from Philadelphia down to Costa Rica, and now we're currently based in Lisbon, Portugal.
Cool. So Patrick, I know you have been working in this digital, and under digital, your major forte is around SEO and paid search. And lately you have been spending a lot of time in helping your clients in search engine optimization. My perspective is that the whole SEO as a field has become very commoditized in the last decade or so. I think there are lots of smaller shops have opened up. So for a client, how do you guys position yourself? What is the difference between a quality SEO agency versus a commodity? Because there are so much competition is there right now in the market.
Yeah, I think that's a really wonderful question. I think the days of just the basic hacks of trying to implement SEO strategies of stuffing pages with keywords and basic technical audits are long gone. There are core components that still are essential for success. So good keyword research, good technical audits. There is still a need for promoting sites through link building. But, I think one of the biggest things that we're finding is really good attention to customer service, good execution on content creation. I think content is one of the biggest things that we're finding having most success with our clients nowadays. And that's not something you can hack. You need to be delivering real answers for certain search intent, and simply stuffing the page with keywords or doing simple technical tricks no longer work. And I think the other thing too is really tying all of the work back to real results, right? Keyword rankings are a vanity metric these days. Really tying back the work that someone invests into the SEO channel to leads, to traffic, and then ultimately sales, right? That's all that matters, especially with the client base that we're currently working with. It's mostly small to medium business owners. So any investment they do in the channel, they really need to see results. And a lot of these new agencies that just pop up, read a couple blogs, don't really have the experience, can't deliver or don't deliver those results. That's actually why you see quite a bit of churn and burn within the SEO space.
And in the last 10 years, are you also seeing the clients have also evolved? Are they becoming more demanding? Are they becoming more educated, more equipped with the right ammunition when you talk to an agency like yours?
Yeah, I definitely think there's some more awareness around. I think the biggest challenges that we have to overcome, and I don't know that it's actually anything new, is earning their trust, right? So a lot of companies, before they come work with us, have worked with previous agencies. So it's really important to deliver early, as fast as you can, to build that equity. It's very hard to tell someone that's about to invest $20,000 into SEO to say, trust me, in 6 months, you'll be ranking. So it's at the onset of the SEO kickoff, you need to be communicative, transparent. Hey, look, this is what you can expect next week and the following week. These are our expectations on when we believe results will be delivered. So that's really essential in order for delivering, establishing equity between you and the client. And I think that's always been a challenge, but even more so nowadays. Like you talked about, there's more and more agencies coming online that don't know what they're doing, burning clients, and really ruining the reputation of the space.
And if you look at even Google, I think Google as a search engine is also evolving significantly. I think in the last 2 years, there's a lot of updates have happened. I think there's a big buzz around BERT, the new NLP system or the algorithm that they are trying to completely revolutionize the way the keyword searches are being interpreted. So
Yeah.
how does that make your life difficult? Are you seeing the rankings are getting improved, or did you feel some of the well-established, well-ranked companies are going down now?
That's an awesome question. So, you know, what we're seeing as the algorithm's getting more intelligent is those practices we talked about in the previous question about spamming results are like obsolete, right? So buying a bunch of links with a bunch of exact match anchor text does not work anymore. Like Google is trying to move the platform away from being gamed. So as you know, building backlinks is one practice in which people can game the system. Also having shady black hat SEO practices within on-page content or technical SEO tricks. But content is key, right? So Google is really trying to look at engagement metrics. So something that's been floated around, and I don't know if it's actually been confirmed anywhere, but it's within the SEO community, there's a phrase called dwell time, right? So there's a perception that Google's looking at how long someone's dwelling on a page before they click back to the search results, because that tells them, oh wow, this page is actually, if a person's staying there longer, this page is actually relevant to the query. If they're spending less time there and coming back to the results, then that's an indication of like, wow, we're actually not delivering what the searcher is looking for. And that's very hard to game. The only way that you can ensure that that page is sticky is by ensuring that it's delivering good content. Good content is basically depth, right? If you have a question, one client in particular, we did a guide on food waste in America. And there are, I think, 10 subtopics that live underneath the primary query. And we made sure that we made a robust guide that answered all those questions. And you should see the results we're having for that. And there's no links. We built 0 links. And it's now top of page across 15 different queries associated with that head term. It's driving phenomenal traffic. It's been an amazing lead capture. And we've done 0 links. The website doesn't have a really strong, huge domain authority, but the way we're able to rank is because of the quality of the content. And so, yeah, I mean, to your point, like as Google's evolved, like if you aren't an agency that's able to really think in those terms for your clients, I mean, you're obsolete.
Okay, that's good to hear. That's really good to hear. And Patrick, when you look at this overall ecosystem and how it's evolving on a day-to-day basis, what is the importance of the whole concept around relevancy and context? Because being an SEO person, when you are looking at any client's website, everyone tries to do the best to put the high quality original content. I think people are mature now. I think 10, 15 years ago, there might be a lot of examples of people are copying and pasting other people's content. But now I think people have burned their hands. They have been penalized by Google. So people awareness is pretty high. So they know what is an importance of having original, having an importance of high authority, a more transparent communication between them and the consumer. So being an SEO person in today's landscape, how do you decide that the content that the client has put together, is it really relevant? Is it really doing a good job of creating good engagement?
That's a wonderful question. So, I mean, there's a couple tools that we've actually started to use to help us, right? So, a lot of times it was more of good keyword research, followed by like sound framework on like how you outline a piece of content, whether that's a guide or a resource or a blog post or a services page or a home page. And that's been successful, but to go to the next level, there's been a couple of softwares that have come online that have actually helped us to analyze how relevant that piece of content is for Google. So there's one in particular called ClearScope that we've been using. They're based out of San Francisco. It's a fairly affordable software that allows us to understand the quality of the content that's ranking in the top 10 search results. Often use words, and I'm not talking about like repeating the same word in the text, but like semantically related queries to whatever it is you want to rank for, right? So if it's food waste in America, what are the long tail semantically related queries that need to be in that text in order to rank? So we've been using that to really help us get a leg up on our competition, right? So to your point, like there's an awareness around now that like, hey, look, you can just simply copy content and paste it and hope that it ranks. And simply framing it sometimes correctly isn't enough. So this tool in particular has actually been quite helpful because it actually emulates a lot of the machine learning that Google uses to understand content and rank pages. There's that, and there's a few other ones that are on the that are available, but are a little bit more costly. But we found that one to be quite effective.
Okay. And my last question before I hand over to my colleague Sunder. So if you look at the current landscape and the way the current pandemic situation going on, I know the agencies are always the worst impacted whenever these kind of I remember during the global financial crisis, the same thing happened. The agencies got really impacted. Even during the September 11 attack during 2001, the similar situation happens. But again, the agencies are always the big beneficiary once the recovery starts, because that's when all the brand rushes towards agency. Hey guys, let's run some big brand awareness campaigns. Let's run some big performance-based campaigns. So how do you guys manage to survive these kind of a distressful environments? I think that's very curious to know.
Yeah, I mean, that's a wonderful question. It's funny, when this all started to happen, there was a lot of comparisons to 2008, and I started, it's funny, we had a debate, me and my business partner had a debate about this, like, it's not going to be so bad, 2008, things survive, and I was like, man, this is different. This feels very different. We have a medical supply, one of the largest medical suppliers in Australia. And there was a huge rush on masks. Like their traffic went, let's just say for the sake of this conversation, it was 10 a day. It went to 10,000 a day in a day. I was like, wait a minute. Whoa, that's crazy. Never seen anything like that. And then over time, their sales started to take off. Meanwhile, we had two very, very large travel companies based out of New York where their businesses started to crumble in a matter of weeks. And I was like, whoa, this is way, way different than anything I've ever seen before. So dialing it back to 2008, I actually took a job that took me to Costa Rica to work for an agency based out of Chicago. And I was managing paid search and SEO for Armani Exchange. People were still buying pants, We had Valley Total Fitness, I think was one of our clients. People were still going to the gym. People were still getting on airplanes. And this crisis is like, I think now we can all say, right, back in January, February, like, okay, this is bad, but this is not that bad. But I think now into April and almost May, it's clear this is like nothing we've ever seen before. So like, having said that, I mean, how do you plan for a pandemic, right? How do you plan for surviving in a crisis like this is, I don't know that you can, honestly. The closest preparation we've made for something like this is losing two of our largest clients. So we have two clients that represent about 30% of our business. It's always been a concern between me and my business partner about how best we are going to handle that situation. And it really boils down to money management. So having enough money on hand to cover expenses for, a 4 to 5 month period, to cover payroll, to cover costs, so that we can, during that time frame, look to replace them. But what I will say is we've asked around to other agencies that are similar to us, and what I'd say is like we've been impacted pretty badly, and it's largely due to the nature of how we grow our business. Sushant, I think you're aware, like we get a lot of business through referrals, word of mouth. We don't have inside sales teams, right? I think it's unique. I take a lot of pride in that, is that we have long-term relationships. So agencies of our size normally have an average life on a contract of about 2 years. We have a client that's been with us for 9. Our average contract time's around 4 to 6 years. That's a lot. That's a huge difference. And so, when the crisis hit and clients were like, hey, look, we love you. We're just gonna have to hit pause, unfortunately. We weren't really prepared for that because, again, we didn't have an inside sales team. We don't have a way to scale back up fast. And to be honest, I don't know anybody with an inside sales team that's having a lot of success cold calling anybody right now. But so what did we do? Really, it's boiled down to like emergency planning. So we've we've really looked at accounting, making sure our 2 biggest things, obviously, besides losing clients, is unpaid invoices, which is always a challenge, so we've really dialed in to make sure that anything that's unpaid, we've refocused and say, look, what can we do? Before we wanted to get things current before the crisis deepened. And really the final thing is reinvesting into the clients that we have now, going above and beyond whatever we can do to make sure that they excel.
I think we all just hope you survive the pandemic and come flourishing back and make few more millions.
Yeah, agreed. Likewise.
Yeah. Sunder, over to you.
Yeah, I'm going to make it a sort of a 2-part question, this one. You briefly touched upon it, but when you think about how consumers engage with any brands, there is a think, there is a do, and there is a feel. So there is a lot of consumer research and a psychology research that should go in. What part or how much of your, whatever you do, the work that you do, has a lot of this research embedded in it, and how important is it?
It's a great question. I think anytime we start a new engagement with a client, whether that's paid search, paid social, organic search, it's really understanding why should I buy from you? What is the value benefit, right? Why am I even talking to you? Right. And then from there, once you start to clearly understand what the offering is, right, then you try to sit yourself in the customer's shoes and say, okay, what's the buying cycle like, right? How does the funnel look, right? And so what we'll do is we'll essentially start to create keyword research around that. So what is top of funnel? What is the informational content we should be creating? What's mid funnel? What's low funnel? That's essential for real success, for growing all of those standard metrics that most of the SMBs that we work with really care about, right? Which is traffic, leads, and sales. And if you're not communicating to them at every phase of the way, you're missing the mark, and it's really difficult to deliver results.
Interesting. And since you mentioned SMBs and small, medium businesses, what I was also interested in was, what is that tipping point for organizations where they realize that SEO is important and they need to start investing? What are those factors that play into it?
I think the simplest one is when their competition is kicking their ass. Sorry for lack of a better word. I always find it funny that, we deal with a lot of individual business owners, but we also deal with a couple $1 billion companies, right? And for them, I can't tell you how many times still, 15 years later, CEO X is Googling word, why is my competitor showing up, right? That's typically one of the biggest motivations for them to say, okay, wow, like we're missing the mark here. And then there's obviously more smart people, not more smart, that's probably the wrong word. People that are more aware about the real need of organic search based on just ROIs, right? Paid search, paid social, Facebook, CPCs, like they're getting expensive. Actually, in the current crisis, things are a little bit different in that space, but in general, it's all about trying to find other ways to get good return. And organic search is an amazing investment for the long term, you know, and there's certain executives and individual business owners that get that, you know, beyond just the vanity metrics of why am I not ranking against my competitor.
Right. And it's interesting you mentioned long term. I think that's key, that in the investments you consider that long term vision while making that investment, which is sort of going to bring me to the last question I have for you is, in this sort of new normal, what do you believe are going to be the metrics or the success measures for SEO, for SEO as a function, and then within that, even the agencies that are helping with that function?
Yeah, it's a good question. You know, like I said, we deal with a lot of SMBs. So, you know, we're not dealing with Adidas, right? I don't have any complex, fat, flashy metric to understand like brand penetration and how offline works and in-store. You know, our clients really care about the standard metrics: traffic, leads, and revenue. Now, having said that, you know, I think one of the big things that we're trying to help them understand, and I think a lot of agencies as well in our size or even bigger, is really about like cross-channel attribution. So, you know, really understanding the impact. Like you can no longer live, you know, 10 years ago, you could live in your paid search silo and say, okay, I'm only worried about what this is doing for the business. But like we know today that that's just like, that's obsolete. Each channel works together to impact the other. And, you know, as more stuff is merging together, social overlapping with paid and now organic, emails impact on top of funnel down in to other channels. You have to be looking as an agency, although you only do search, you also need to be thinking about, okay, cool, how's that impacting direct traffic? How's that impacting email? So, you know, a good example is, you know, that food waste guide I talked about, right? So that's now ranking for very high top of funnel queries. That's introducing the brand to users that don't know who they are, right? It ultimately is going to be impacting assisted conversions in paid search, maybe even potentially email. And each one of those touch points need to be weighted accurately so that you can really understand the true value of all the channels working together. Because imagine if we just turned off organic search, right? We're gonna slash organic search because you know, we're having some trouble with sales, so we're only gonna rely on paid search. Then all of a sudden, paid search has got less number of leads, less sales, and so it's not the complete picture, and that can be quite dangerous for companies if they don't really understand the true value across all the channels. And also, you know, shows the value that we're bringing to the company, right? Which is essential.
Interesting. Thanks.
Okay. And Patrick, what are your two big bets for 2020? Where do you think the industry is heading towards in this?
Honestly, 2020 is all about survival. I really don't know how anything goes back to normal. I don't mean to be gloom and doom, but you know, the industry, there's a lot of industries that really suffered. You know, travel's gone. I don't see how it comes back in any way that we knew from before. You know, a lot of our luxury good, anything that's like a luxury product, like people, there's two things that are happening here. One is like there's a real health concern, and there's also like an economic concern, right? So, yeah, the unemployment rate in the U.S. right now, I think, is at 26 million, right? It's forecasted to be at 15% by May.
Yeah.
And that creates a lot of fear in spending money. And so I think it's a lot of what's going to happen for 2020 is businesses that are essential are going to obviously thrive. And then, you know, really it's about what you can do to to leverage your existing network of contacts for new business. Like for us, that's really where we're looking. It's you can't cold call people. You can't use traditional means for getting back business you've lost. You have to work close connections, people that know you, know your brand, and leverage that and try to just get through this until things, air quotes, go back to normal. And I don't honestly know when that's going to happen beyond maybe a vaccine coming on the market. So
cool. And Patrick, and my last question for today before we wind up this episode is, if anyone wants to enter into this arena of search engine optimization today, okay, what would be your advice to that person? Stay away from it or stick to it?
I think a person that's entering into SEO needs to have a certain type of, I mean, you could probably say this about anybody that's entering any type of trade, but you need to be passionate. You know, I think if I reflect back on my entrance into the space, you know, I was really curious. It's like, oh, wow, that's cool. Like, you can make this tweak on the website. This is 2004 or 5, and it starts to rank. It's like, wow, that's really cool. And, you know, that I think that like curiosity, the drive to learn more, I think is essential for your success in the space. And I'm not just, there's a real need for you to research, get involved in communities, ask questions, but you need to be passionate. You know, you need to have a real desire to push things, and that passion allows you to not just read a blog post, but like actually test it. There's a lot of SEOs out there that read a blog post and they're an SEO, right? But they have no experience. And to be truly successful in the space, you have to have a real desire and passion to try things out, to push yourself, to learn, to be collaborative. Yeah.
Cool. So Patrick, thank you so much for your time today. I know it's a weekend and
I have nowhere to go.
Sure. So Patrick, have a lovely day. And to all our listeners, if you have any questions, any comments, please post it below this video. And if you have any suggestions on any new topic that you want us to cover, please also mention that, and we'll be more than happy to do that. So stay safe, stay connected. Hasta pronto.